Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the iPhone 11 may still be the best phone for most people in 2021. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and talk about why I think that for a lot of people. I still recommend it today, and this phone was introduced in September of 2019. Apple has since kept it with the release of the iPhone 12 series phones, and they've lowered the price. And so now the iPhone 11 is less expensive, still has the same specs, and is a great size overall, but now is $100 less than it was last year, which means it starts at $599 and goes up to $749. That's without any deals from Apple whatsoever, so whether or not you have extra deals on top of that with trade-ins from Apple or your carrier, I've seen these as good as buy one, get one free. So it really depends on what your carrier is offering. But they come in three different variants as far as storage still, 64, 128, or 256 gigabytes. And of course you have different colors. This is the green color, but we also had a newer purple color for the same year, as well as white, black, yellow, and product red. So you have all of those different options, and you have what seems to be sort of the sweet spot in size for many people. You have a 6.1-inch display, which I'll talk about more in a little bit, but the display and the overall size is very comfortable in the hand. It's in between a very large phone and a very small phone. So even with the introduction of, say, the iPhone 12 series phones this year, it's still a decent size. It's a little bit bigger than the iPhone 12, but it has a similar size display. Now, as far as the phone overall and its build, I think that's one reason people may still like it as well. It's aluminum on the outside edge, so it's aluminum around the outside edge with sort of that curved design we've had for many years. A lot of people still really like the curved design. And it's got the familiar volume buttons on the left-hand side. So your volume buttons and your silent switch, nothing on the top. And then on the other side, of course, your power, sleep, wake button, as well as your SIM card tray. So you have all of those things that are very familiar. And then on the bottom, of course, you've got Lightning with a symmetrical microphone and speaker grill. The Lightning port is a little off-center, though, but that's just how they made these phones. Of course, you have glass front and back, which helps with things like wireless charging, and it just has a very nice feel to it overall. It doesn't feel like you're sacrificing anything as far as overall build quality and anything else. Durability-wise, this phone has proven to be very durable in my use. So unlike the iPhone 11 Pro and iPhone 11 Pro Max, this one seems to hold up a little bit better against scratches for some reason. So if you're not using a screen protector, and this one has not had one on it, it has zero scratches on it. It's held up incredibly well, and it works well. Of course, it has Face ID, which works very simply. Lock the phone, pick it up, and it's just as fast as anything else when it comes to Face ID. So you've got all of the benefits of today's phones, but you also have a less expensive price. Now, as far as the display, this is the most controversial thing, I think, for anyone with this phone, is many people say, well, it's a low-resolution display. It's not that great. And I would argue that it's just as good as most of the others, if not better in many ways. It's very color accurate compared to other phones, including the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So if I unlock my 12 Pro Max here, put it next to it, despite it being an LCD versus an OLED of the 12 Pro Max, no, it's not going to be as vibrant or have as deep blacks, but many people think it's more color accurate with the whites. The whites on the iPhone 12 Pro Max tend to be a little bit warmer, with the 11 being probably a little bit more accurate. If I go into settings, for example, you can see the difference here. It's quite dramatic, and let me make sure True Tone is turned off so you can see the difference. True Tone is off on both of these phones, and now you can see the difference between the colors. So there is a difference in the colors with the 11 versus the 12 Pro Max or any of the newer OLED phones. You also have the advantage that it doesn't use PWM. So PWM is a way of modulating the brightness on OLED displays. So the 12 Pro Max, for example, flickers the screen faster or slower, and that can actually cause people to have headaches or cause them even to feel nauseated. And the 11, because it's an LCD, doesn't control brightness that way. While you can't see it with your eyes, you can see it with a slow motion camera, and it's definitely something that bothers people's eyes. And it's about 1 in 10. So if you can see faster frame rates, it usually will bother you, myself included. So you don't get that with the iPhone 11. Now, technically, you do have that lower resolution display, like I said, that's 1,792 by 828 pixels. However, even though it's below 1080p but above 720p, you still have 326 pixels per inch. So you can't really see the pixels unless you put this right up next to your eye and you can focus that close. But you also get the advantage that it's a vibrant screen. It supports HDR video, for example. So here's one of my videos I recorded with the 12 Pro Max, which records in HDR. We'll go ahead and hit play. I'll turn it down, and you can see that if we go to the options for video, we actually have up to 4K HDR. Now, even though this display is not a 4K display, it will scale it down. So you get the higher bit rates of, say, 1440p and 2160p or 4K, and you also get to view it in HDR. So you don't lose any advantage that you have with, say, the 12 Pro Max even, or the 12 series phones watching HDR video. It just may not go as bright as some of those other phones at its max brightness, but it can view HDR content without a problem on YouTube. Now, the screen has haptic touch. All of Apple's phones have gone away or done away with 3D touch. So it has haptic touch where you can press and hold, and it works fine. I do wish they'd bring 3D touch back, but that seems to be gone for now. But you do have all of those same options just by pressing and holding. But with the iPhone 11, you still have the fast A13 Bionic with 4 gigs of RAM. So if you're playing a game like Fortnite or Among Us, you're not going to have any disadvantages when you're using this as compared to, say, an iPhone 12 series phones. I haven't really seen any difference when it comes to gaming. You'll be able to export 4K video with things like iMovie without a problem, and your scrolling and everything else will be smooth. And the lower resolution display compared to the OLED displays, for example, tend to be a little bit smoother because you're not pushing as many pixels with the same processor. So you probably will have even less lags due to that, but you won't be able to see the pixels, like I said. Now, as far as battery life, well, this phone's quite good. It's not as good as some of the big phones today, but it's got a 3,110 milliamp hour battery in it, which is good for 7 to 8 hours of screen on time with most users. So depending on what you're doing, if you're gaming all day, of course, you're going to get less battery life, and that's just kind of the nature of doing intensive processes. But if you're using it regularly to use social media, listening to some music, maybe occasionally using the camera, you shouldn't have any issues getting through the day. Now, along with the battery life being pretty decent on the iPhone 11, you also have the option to wireless charge, even using Apple's new MagSafe adapter. So if you place that on the back, it will start to charge, but you don't get the fast wireless charging like you do with the iPhone 12. It doesn't have a magnet ring. While it does adhere kind of magnetically and centers itself to charge, you don't get the fast 15-watt wireless charging with it, but you can charge at about 7.5 watts with this charger. And also you get fast wired charging as well. So if you pick up one of the new charging bricks from Apple, it does not include a charging brick at all with it this year. They've taken that out of the iPhone 11 if you get a new one. If you get a leftover iPhone 11, the box will have an adapter in it, but it won't be the fast charging adapter. So if you do want a fast charge, you'll have to pick up this adapter for about $20, whether that be the 18 or 20 watt adapter, and then you can charge your phone 50% in about 30 minutes. So if you want to do that, you can. I prefer wireless charging, and you don't have to use MagSafe. You can use anything else, any Qi compatible wireless charger, but it's just convenient and super easy to use. But if you have any other iPhone charger lying around, you can use that as well, since we're using Lightning. Now, as far as the cameras go, the cameras are fantastic. They're 12 megapixel cameras. They record 4K 60. The only disadvantage that you get over this year's cameras is they don't record in HDR. So you don't have HDR video recording, which I think that will be a bigger thing in the next year or two for everyone to watch on YouTube, for example, but you can still view them with this phone. But you have your regular camera and then you have an ultra wide. I don't think it's a big deal that it doesn't have telephoto, because even in, say, the 12 Pro Max, for example, when you take a telephoto picture, if the lighting is good, it will use the main camera and just zoom in with the sensor. So you can jump into wide there, or go back to 1x or zoom. When you're zooming into 2x, you're really not going to notice the difference between a photo with this or a newer phone that has a telephoto lens. Most people won't be able to tell the difference unless you put it on a huge screen and then blow it up that way. Now, the forward-facing camera also does 4K video, so if I turn it around here, now I'm recording with the camera of the iPhone 11. The forward-facing video does 4K 60 as well. Again, no HDR, but it looks great if you wanted to use it for vlogging. I'm even using the microphone out of the iPhone 11 right now, and generally it sounds pretty good, even compared to my studio mic that's right here. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Now, when it comes to LTE and Wi-Fi, the iPhone 11 is quite good. It doesn't have 5G, and that's really not an issue since most areas are still sort of ramping up their coverage with that. So it has 4G, LTE, and Wi-Fi. And I found that when I use this as my main phone with my SIM card in it, I tend to have really good connectivity in it, despite it having an Intel modem inside. So there's something about this aluminum frame being the antenna versus stainless steel on, say, the iPhone 11 Pro or iPhone 11 Pro Max, where it seems to have really good connectivity. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. I had great reception. I didn't have dropped calls, and it seemed to work really well on the 11 versus the Pro models. So there's something to be said for that. Now, this phone does have an IP rating. It is water or dust sealed for 2 meters for 30 minutes. Now, if you were to submerge this, go swimming with it, something like that, and it did damage the phone, Apple won't cover that. So you still want a waterproof case. And that even goes for the iPhone 12 series phones. So this is 2 meters for up to 30 minutes. It means if you splash it with water, it's not going to be a problem. But if you submerge it for a long period of time, it may cause damage. But either way, it should be protected from daily use or maybe some rain and things like that. Now, as far as software support, I would expect this phone to be supported for at least 4 more years. Apple lately has been supporting their phones for up to 6 years with the iPhone 6s Plus. So with the iPhone 11 being that it has only a 1-year-old CPU in it, I would expect at least 4 more years of regular iOS updates. So that means up to about iOS 18, maybe even iOS 19. So we should have years of updates left on the iPhone 11. And so should you buy the iPhone 11 in 2021? Well, I would say that really depends on, are you really into technology? Do you have to have the best display, or do you just want a phone that's reliable, has a good display, will play HDR, and has decent speakers as well? I didn't mention the speakers, but they get nice and loud compared to today's phones too. I don't think you'll have any issues there. They're nice and loud, they're clear, they're stereo from the top and bottom, and so they tend to work really well. So I would definitely recommend this in 2021, especially if you can get a discount with trading in an old phone. Maybe you're going from an iPhone 6s Plus, you want to get something similar in size, but it's not so expensive. Well, you could get this one, usually with a trade-in for less money. And then also there's deals from your carriers, like I mentioned earlier in the video. So if you can get one of those deals, then absolutely pick one of these up. If you're not getting a deal and it was a choice between this phone and, say, a newer phone, and the money is not an issue, well, then definitely go for the iPhone 12, because that's going to have the latest design if you like the squared off edges, and it's going to have HDR video recording and that OLED display that all of the phones get in 2021. So with the new iPhone 12 series. So that's where I would pick up the newer iPhone 12. Otherwise, if that doesn't matter to you, go for the 11. It's reliable, it works well, and I think it's the one that most people should pick up. I'd love to hear from you what you decided to get this year, or if you're looking to get an iPhone 11, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.